When I heard that there was an updated Odyssey, a refreshed Sienna, and a Carnival that now comes with a hybrid powertrain, I couldn't wait to jump on this assignment because I love a minivan. We've got 3 minivans here competing for your family's affection, starting with the Kia Carnival, now with a new hybrid powertrain, better technology, improved driver aids, and more rugged styling. And if you're going to talk minivans, you can't do it without bringing the Toyota Sienna, which is here with an improved interior that features better technology, larger screens, and even a fridge and a vacuum right in the center of it. And then of course, there's the Honda Odyssey, which somehow outsells both of these, even though it hasn't been redesigned since 2018. It's here for 2025 with a few tweaks and some new technology in an attempt to keep it competitive with the updated Toyota and Kia. So we're gonna take all these minivans, do a deep dive on the interior to find all those family-friendly features, tell you how they drive, talk about fuel economy, value, all that good stuff, and then we're gonna culminate with the world-famous Edmunds rating to tell you which one is most worth your family's hard-earned dollars. But before we do that, please like and subscribe and head over to Edmunds.com where you will find all the information you need on a new or used vehicle, including the world famous Edmunds rating. And we'll even make you a cash offer on your current set of wheels. Time to pretend I have some kids. We're gonna kick things off here in the Kia because while all of the minivans got updates for 2025, the biggest updates were here in the Carnival, starting with that hybrid powertrain. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more later, but inside, big updates for the Kia as well. Brand new screens up here. And even though minivans, they make most of their money in the second and third rows. That's really why you're buying a minivan, right? For that extra seating and cargo flexibility. The front seats of these vehicles are still important because that's where mom or dad is gonna sit. So up here in the Kia has the most aesthetically pleasing interior of this trio by far. This cream and navy color scheme is great. This screen setup we really like as well. It looks and feels more modern than the other 2 minivans by a pretty good margin. And on top of that, I think that the Kia might have the most comfortable front seats of the whole bunch. Very easy to find a comfortable driving position and very supportive for those long road trips you're gonna take with the family. Now, even though I like the front part of this Carnival for adults, for families, there are a few compromises that you're going to need to make, especially in the area of small item storage. The Carnival just has a lot less of it than the other 2 competitors here. You basically have this bin here and a center console, which is better than most SUVs, but in the minivan class, it's far, far behind both the Toyota and the Honda. There is, though, one thing that the Kia does well, and that is it has giant cup holders so you can fit your giant water bottle. Now, this is the 8-seat configuration of the Carnival. They actually offer a 7-seat configuration as a no-cost option, and that installs 2 what they call VIP seats here in the second row, but those seats are more for adults. They're not really family friendly, so we've chosen to feature this configuration in this video. The thing that's unique about the Carnival that we really like is that each of these 3 seats, they can all individually slide forward and back. So you're not getting the same amount of travel that you're getting in, let's say, the Toyota, but this center seat here, if let's say you have a kid here in a car seat, you can actually slide it forward so you can reach them a little bit better. The Odyssey's center seat doesn't do this. And the other thing about the Odyssey's center seat is that the seat belt is actually mounted in the ceiling. So if you're gonna pull that belt down from the ceiling, it kind of gets in the way of stuff. It's really nice to have this all contained in one unit that can, again, move back and forth. The downside, though, of having that is that to take this seat out, it's really, really heavy. So we just slide it forward here. There's a little lever back here I pull, and then I'm gonna try to lift the seat out. And I cannot. It's very heavy. There's no way that it could get this out, and even me, it's a bit of a struggle to kind of wrestle this thing out. Once it's out, you can actually store it in the well back there or just keep it in your garage if you don't need it. The Carnival's third row is pretty good on legroom, but tight when it comes to headroom. So if you're an adult, you're gonna wanna recline the seat a little bit to give yourself a little bit extra space so your head doesn't hit the ceiling in case the vehicle goes over a bump or anything like that. 2 USB-C charging ports back here, 1 on either side. And the nice thing about the Kia is that you get pretty good storage back here. So cup holders, but also little cubbies for your phone and stuff like that. Fitting 3 people back here will be a tough proposition. 2 would be fine. And kids, they'll fit back here all right. We do like that the air vents in the Carnival's third row are up here, so they give you a bit better air circulation, but this really big and chunky C-pillar definitely cuts into visibility and can make it feel a bit claustrophobic. We're now here in the Honda, which for 2025 also got new screens, but just looking at the setup that you have here, it doesn't really compare to what you're getting in the Kia. Not only are the Kia screens larger, but its infotainment system is a generation newer. Honda does offer a new Google-based multimedia system with a larger 12.3-inch touchscreen on some of its vehicles, but for whatever reason, you're not getting that here in the Odyssey. You're getting a 9-inch screen, and you're getting one that's mounted so high up and far back that it makes it feel even smaller. Well, that kind of speaks to the overall feel of the front of this interior. This is probably the worst van for adults because the seats aren't all that comfortable, and on top of that, I mean, just look at it. We have that really nice navy cream sort of color in the Kia, and here everything is black, black, and more black, which might be flattering if you're wearing it on you, but on a car, it just feels boring and a bit old. When it comes to front storage, the Odyssey is pretty good. You have nicely sized door pockets, and you also have this nice open area here between the seats so you can fit like a bag in there, but the center console is a little bit small, and a bunch of this storage is also taken up by the position of this wireless charging pad. I sort of wish that this was moved somewhere else so that maybe this bin could be larger, then you could fit a little bit more stuff. Now that we're out of the front row, the Odyssey finally gets a chance to shine because we think that the second and third row of this vehicle in particular are the most family friendly of the bunch. Now the setup is similar to what we had in the Carnival, an 8-seat configuration overall with a removable center seat here that takes you down to 7, but if you don't need to use it often, you can actually just rip this out really easily, store it in the back or store it in your garage. Two big differences though between the Kia and the Honda. For the center seat here, the seat belt is not contained within this center seat. It actually comes down here from the ceiling. So if you are going to have 3 people here, you kind of have to bring this down. And as you can see, it sort of impedes on the space for the passenger over here. So that's not ideal. But the benefit of that is that overall, this center seat is much lighter. We had a real struggle getting the Kias out, but here in the Honda, I can pick it up while sitting down, and it only seems to weigh about 15 to 20 pounds, making it much easier to maneuver. Now with the middle seat out, we can show you what a very cool feature of this second row is and why we like it so much for families in particular. Now you're not going to get quite the same level of forward and back adjustment in the Odyssey. These tracks don't go back as far, but that's okay. You can still move the seat plenty forward enough to be able to easier reach a kid from the front seat. But what we really like about it is that if I reach over here on the side and pull this little lever, I can actually slide all the way over. Both of these seats can move left, right, however you need them to. So if you have 2 kids, you can put them in a spot where it's easy for a front passenger to reach, or if you're a parent who wants to ride next to your kid and not have to sit in an uncomfortable middle seat, you have that option as well. The Odyssey's third row is the most spacious and comfortable of the bunch. The recline on this third row is pretty comfortable, and you can sit back here even as an adult for a long trip and be okay, in this seat at least. On the other side, it's not so great, and that's because the mount for the center seat belt is right above your head if you sit on this side, and it ducks down pretty low, so it really cuts into headroom. A kid will be okay, but for an adult, their head's gonna be really close, and if you go over any kind of bump, their head is probably going to run into some pretty hard plastic. There's a lot to like about this third row. Visibility is quite good. You get big windows here, but one thing I don't like is that the vents are not ceiling mounted. They're actually down here, so they're tucked in right next to where your leg is, and it doesn't really circulate air as well back here as a ceiling vent would, like you're getting in the other vans. And finally, we've come to the Toyota Sienna, the most expensive vehicle here, but the inside actually kind of feels like it. I think this has a slight leg up on the Kia when it comes to sort of materials and overall niceness of the cabin, even though I do prefer the design of the Carnival a little bit more. Inside, the Sienna got a bunch of changes as well, including a new 12.3-inch touchscreen that matches the size of the one of the Kia, though base trims of the Sienna are going to have to make do with an 8-inch screen. Toyota has made the center console here kind of like a bridge, and what that does is it sort of separates the front 2 seats quite a bit. I feel like I'm on my own little cocoon here, but it's a very comfortable cocoon. The seat has a lot of support. Again, one that you'd be very happy to sit in for a long road trip. The Sienna kills it when it comes to small item storage. You get big pockets on the doors like you got in the Odyssey, but this whole center console layout is much more conducive to storing all of your stuff. Down here underneath the tunnel, you get a pretty big area to fit a bag, and here in the center console, much deeper than the one in the Odyssey. As you can see, I can basically fit my whole arm in there. But my favorite part about the front is this shelf that runs basically across the entire width of the dashboard. This is where the wireless charging pad is, so it's very easy to put your phone there out of the way. It's also been increased in power, so it now charges faster for 2025. But you can basically put all sorts of tiny odds and ends right up here. They don't slide around because they have a little ridge right here to keep everything in place. And it's just basically a nice spot to put phones, pens, little bags, snacks, anything. The only downside is these cup holders. They're a little bit small. You can probably fit a can, but you can't fit any type of big water bottle or anything. The Toyota is the only 7-seat minivan that we have here, and that's because once you get past the bottom 2 trim levels, they all come standard with captain's chairs and seating for 7. So if you want a bench, you're gonna have to go down the model lineup. Here we're in the top trim level, and so it's got all the bells and whistles pretty much. But the goodies in the Toyota start before you even get in, and that's because it's got these nice, really large grab handles with 2 spots, one for adults and one for kids. So even though all these minivans are actually pretty easy to climb into, even easier to hop up into the Sienna. Now, these captain's chairs have one really cool feature, and that is they can go really, really far back and they can go really, really far forward. So if you need access to your kid, you can move them closer. And if you want some space for you to extend this footrest and relax for a bit, you can do that too. Now, since this is the platinum trim, it comes with this extended center console standard, and this includes a fridge as well as a vacuum. So the little fridge unit here is actually quite big. It'll fit 6 of these water bottles. And the cool thing about this refrigerator is it comes with 2 coldness settings. So one just for keeping drinks cold, but also a freezer setting. So if you want to bring things like popsicles for the kids, you can finally do so without having to lug a cooler around. Now, down here, this little hole in the bottom of the center console, that's for the vacuum. And now, in preparing for this video, I don't have kids of my own, but I was told that kids, they just dump everything everywhere and they pour things all over the place. And so things get all over the car where you wouldn't expect. The nice thing about the Toyota and actually all these vehicles, all the channels for the seats here have these little rubber gaskets on them. So they do a pretty good job of keeping things out, but only the Toyota now offers a vacuum. All right, now it's time to test out how powerful this vacuum really is. Well, the good news is there's a vacuum. The bad news is it doesn't seem to really work on anything as large as goldfish. So it seems to do pretty well when it's sucking up smaller objects. Anything goldfish sized or larger is going to get stuck, but for smaller stuff, the vacuum is actually pretty good. So for cleaning up dirt and things in the cabin, it's going to be fine. But for anything bigger, probably going to need to pull out the shop vac or something like that. Now the third row of the Sienna, it's gonna be in between size-wise what you're getting in the Odyssey and the Carnival, but I do think that the Carnival's third row seat, even though it's less roomy, is a bit more comfortable, and that's because in the Sienna, this seat cushion ends pretty abruptly. I feel like it should extend maybe another 3 or 4 inches for it to be really comfortable for adult passengers. Kids with shorter legs, probably okay, but for adults, this third row is not the best, and it's also not the best because, just like in the other vehicles, the center-mounted seatbelt is up here, and so to pull it down, it's gonna come over the passenger here. This is probably, again, a third row best for 2 people rather than 3. One other weird quirk about the Sienna's third row, it has 2 USB-C charging ports, which is good, but they're both way over there. So if you're sitting in this seat and you need to charge something, you're gonna have to go across the other occupant potentially to plug in. And if that other occupant happens to be your sibling, that could be a point of conflict. For this section, we combine the interior and comfort parts of the Edmunds rating into a single score. The Sienna came out on top thanks to its well-appointed interior, easy-to-use controls, and comfortable seats, well, across the first 2 rows at least. It was followed by the Odyssey, which impressed with its interior flexibility in that easily removable second row middle seat. Last was the Carnival Hybrid, but this was a really close race, and if it had just a bit more room in its third row and a more comfortable, quieter cabin, it could have closed the gap. Kia offers a very strong technology suite here in the Carnival. These 12.3-inch screens, the pair of them are standard on all trim levels, which is really nice, and they're significantly larger than the screens that you're going to get in the Odyssey especially. Other things that we like about this infotainment system, its simplicity, very easy to use, very shallow menu structure, and of course, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is helpful because the native Maps app is not so great. One thing that we don't like is this part right here. And Kia has put this on several vehicles that it's made before. We just don't like the fact that you have to choose between having climate controls or multimedia controls here. So basically, if I have climate up, I lose access to the volume knob. So someone in the passenger seat can't change the volume of the system. Not great there. But Kia does one other great thing here on the interior. You get a very nice passenger view camera. So if you need to take a quick look at kids in either the second or third row, you can easily see them there. And on top of that, the surround view camera is also excellent. Multiple views, including this handy view here where you get a kind of a fly around of the van and you can sort of see if there are any small objects and things around you. The Kia is also well equipped when it comes to safety technology with adaptive cruise control, lane keep, blind spot warnings, all that good stuff. All in all, the tech package in the Carnival, really compelling, easy to use, and family friendly. Another feature that the Kia has that it shares with the Toyota is a rear view camera mirror. And that means that if you have folks sitting in all three rows or a lot of cargo and things, you can actually still see out of the back using this camera. Very handy. Inside the Carnival has 6 USB-C ports to charge all the devices, and while that's not quite one per seat, we do really like where they're placed. Kia puts the ones for the second row in the back of these seats here, which actually makes them more convenient to reach. And on top of that, it has 2 household outlets, one on the back of the center console here and one in the cargo area. So even though there's not the same amount of USB-C ports that you're getting in the other vehicles, I think that the raw charging power in this vehicle is pretty much equal because those household outlets, really useful. Now, when it comes to technology, the Odyssey just feels deficient against the other 2 vehicles. And that's not just because its screen is smaller, it's also because it lacks a lot of the features that the other 2 have that I think are very important for minivans. Now, this screen, the only thing that I like about it is that Honda puts a very nice small shelf right here for you to put your thumb. So it's very easy to sort of balance and use the screen. But the problem is that the menu structure is a bit convoluted and it's a lot of button presses to get wherever you need. The saving grace for this system is wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So you'll just get in, fire up your phone, and hopefully not have to use this too much. When it comes to safety features, the Odyssey is missing one key one, and that would be a surround view camera. So I'm going to put it in reverse here. As you can see, all I get is a rear view. Now, what we did was we put a piece of luggage just basically right off the passenger side rear bumper. And as you can tell, I have no idea that it's there. The other 2 vehicles have surround view cameras, which will tell you if there are things around. And the Toyota even goes a step further, and we're going to show you that in a second. But here in the Honda, just having a rear view camera is really, really disappointing. And on top of that, the driver aids on the highway, the lane keep isn't great. You sort of bounce between the lane lines like this, and the adaptive cruise control system, the moment you come to a stop, you have to resume it. The other 2 give you a bit more leeway, so they're easier to drive in traffic. All in all, even though the Odyssey got a tech update for 2025, it still feels in a lot of ways like it's stuck in 2019. In the cabin though, there are 2 handy tech features. The first one is a cabin watch monitor. As you can see though, the camera isn't quite as good as the one you're gonna get in the Kia, but the nice thing about this is that if you have a child here in a rear facing car seat, you're actually gonna be able to see their face. So if you have a really small child, that's helpful. The other feature that they have here is of course cabin talk, and this is going to transmit my voice throughout the speakers in the cabin. The Kia also has a similar feature, but for some reason, Toyota discontinued it in 2025, so no more cabin talk in the Sienna. The Odyssey actually does quite well when it comes to charging though. You have the wireless charging pad here, and you have 8 USB ports, 2 Type A, 6 Type C, and 3 of them are actually found in the 3rd row, so plugs for all the devices. Technology in the Toyota is a plus. It starts here with the screen, the latest Toyota infotainment system, and Toyota has by far the best native navigation of these. They actually pull in Google results, ratings, and phone numbers and stuff, so you get much better navigation experience here. And if you don't like it, of course, there's wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Stop me if you've heard that before. I do really enjoy the placement of this screen. It's easy to reach from both front seats, and you can even reach the edge here without really stretching out too far. And Toyota's new menu structure is very shallow. It's pretty easy to find what you want, and if you can't, its voice commands are a hair better than both the Honda and the Kia as well. Now, it's not all good news for the Toyota because they have for 2025 lost some family-friendly features. So we showed you those in-car cabin cameras, and we showed you the microphone systems in both the Kia and the Honda. Those are two features that the Toyota lacks. If we're gonna talk cameras, we have to talk surround view cameras, and the one here is excellent. So if I toss the car in reverse, you can kind of see we have a pretty good, just kind of standard surround view camera view. But the other cool thing that you can do is if you're in park and you hit the camera button, you'll actually fly around the car and it will kind of show you all the small objects that are around you. So we did the same test here in the Toyota that we did with the Honda with a piece of luggage that is kid size, and it showed up easily. Anything being left around the car, this view is a really quick way to make sure that everything is okay before you back up. When you're on the move, when it comes to safety technology, the Toyota has roughly the same set of features as the Kia. You don't get that blind spot monitor, but you do get a rear view camera mirror. And of course you get adaptive cruise control, lane keep, all that good stuff. The lane keep, a little bouncy, but not nearly as bad as what you're getting in the Honda. And the adaptive cruise control both speeds up and slows down very smoothly. Thanks to its solid in-car technology offerings and useful driver aids, the Sienna takes the win here, followed by the Carnival Hybrid. Clearly in third, though, was the Odyssey, with its small touchscreen and buggy driver aids, though it offers plenty of charge ports for all of a family's devices. So let's talk cargo. Now, the Carnival has the most room behind its third row, but let's be honest. All three of these minivans really excel when it comes to space in any configuration. A minivan will always be better than an SUV because this load-in height is a lot better, and because all three of these have giant wells behind the third row to fit stuff. Now, if you need to fit really, really big items, the Kia and the Honda are going to be much better for that because their captain's chairs and their middle seats both come out. In the Toyota, you're stuck with those captain's chairs, which do collapse a little bit, but will still be there. So for carrying really big items, Kia and Honda have a big advantage. You didn't actually think that we'd go over all this minivan stuff and not cover car seats, did you? Because here at Edmunds, we test everything. The reason that we're here in the Odyssey is because we think that in a field of competitors that's all pretty good when it comes to car seats, the Odyssey is still the best. And the reason for that is in large part due to the second row flexibility. So we've taken out the middle seat right now. And as you can see, we've slid both of these seats over to the left to demonstrate that even with the car seat installed, you can still get pretty good access to the third row here in the Honda. None of these vehicles do a great job with the car seat installed of tilting and sliding forward. So you can't actually fit behind most of these seats to get to the third row. But with the Honda, since you slide them all over, even an adult can fit through this gap right here and get to the third row easily. And even though these seats, again, they don't have the same backwards travel, so you're not gonna get a ton of room like you're getting in the Sienna or the Kia with the captain's chairs, they do come forward quite a bit, and you have a better way to reach small children. Let's say newborn to 3 or 4 years of age, where you really need to have access to be able to hand them snacks, tissues, whatever they need at all times. The Odyssey is the clear best choice because of one, easy to reach them, and two, just the flexibility with these captain's chairs. Now the Carnival, it has pretty good room, but it struggles because its upper latch anchors are located in a really weird spot. Instead of just being on the back of the seat, for whatever reason, they're way down at the bottom of the seat where they're really hard to reach. The other problem that the Kia faces is that it's not as tall vertically as the other two minivans. So if you have a tall child seat like this one, it can be hard to maneuver it into place in the Kia. Easier than in an SUV, let's say, but not as easy as it is in the Odyssey or the Sienna. Car seat installation in the Sienna is quite easy. It has a really good set of lower latch anchors, but the shape of those captain's chairs means that if you want the seat to fit snugly both on the back and on the bottom, you kind of have to recline the seat a little bit, and in doing so, that actually pushes the kid away from the parents a little bit more, so it's, again, harder to reach and access them. If your kids are a bit older, let's say 5 and up, where they can be a bit more independent and maybe even buckle themselves in, then the Sienna becomes a great option because it's a bit roomier, you have a bit more travel in that second row, but until then, the Odyssey is a better choice for young children. One more thing about the Sienna that we want to mention, if you do want to have better access to that third row, don't get the top trim level. The Platinum just adds that large center console. It makes it really hard to climb to the third row, even through the middle. Go for a lower trim level, save some money. You don't need that weak vacuum anyway, and just give yourself more flexibility in the interior. All of these minivans offer great storage in the rear and are better at handling car seats than any midsize SUV. But what decided this category was in-cabin storage, where the Toyota and the Honda hold a clear advantage over the Kia. The Sienna and Odyssey share this win, with the Carnival just behind. Okay, so when it comes to driving, none of these minivans are really going to blow your socks off, but that doesn't mean that there are some slight differences in how they drive. We're here in the Carnival Hybrid, and this is a minivan that got the biggest mechanical changes for this year with the addition of that hybrid powertrain. It makes very similar power to the Toyota, but both of them make less power than the Odyssey does, and also less power than the V6 versions of the Carnival does as well. The hybrid system in the Kia, it doesn't really feel like you're giving up a lot of speed compared to what you're getting out of the V6, but I will say that the hybrid system in the Sienna is smoother, especially at low speeds. The Kia is a bit jumpy, while the Toyota does a better job of blending from electric to gas power and just gives you a very sort of smooth driving experience from a stop to about 15 or 20 miles an hour. Not to say that the Kia is bad, it's just that the Sienna feels a bit more refined. When the gas engine kicks on in both the Carnival and the Sienna, it does so in kind of a loud, coarse fashion, and the Odyssey is the quietest and most refined of this trio. The Carnival does ride pretty well most of the time, but when the pavement gets a little bit broken or if you're going over bumps and things, it does feel a bit sort of jittery. Sienna does a much better job of ironing those things out, and the Odyssey even better still. If we're talking about which of these three is the best to drive, the clear winner is the Odyssey. Its powertrain is the most responsive, and its steering and handling also gives it the best agility of the three. Where the Toyota has an advantage though over its two rivals is that it offers all-wheel drive. Now, Toyota tells us that 63% of people who buy Siennas actually option all-wheel drive. And what that says is that it's really something that people who are buying minivans are looking for. So it's a bit of a missed opportunity for both Kia and Honda to not offer all-wheel drive versions of these minivans. You're not buying a minivan to go all speed racer, but how they drive is still important. The Odyssey's robust V6 powertrain and well-composed ride lead it to a victory here, while the Sienna and Carnival follow behind with the same driving score. But if we had to pick one, we'd give the Toyota a slight edge since its hybrid powertrain feels more refined than that of the Kia, and it offers all-wheel drive. Now we're going to talk about something extra important to families: value. Looking at the as-tested prices of these three vans, the Odyssey is the cheapest by a good margin, with the Carnival splitting the difference between that and the Sienna. But for that money, we found the interior quality, materials, and design to be better in both the Kia and the Toyota. On top of that, the Sienna offers 2 years of complimentary maintenance, while the Carnival's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty can't be touched by either of the other two vans. So after a long day, almost into night of testing each of these minivans out, we have a clear winner by turning to the world famous Edmunds rating. Coming in third place was the Kia Carnival, in second is the Honda Odyssey, and our winner is the Toyota Sienna. Now, despite the Toyota coming out on top in the overall rating, I think that we've demonstrated that each of these minivans can make a case for a different type of family. The Carnival has the most modern feeling interior and I think the best styling of the bunch, and with its new hybrid powertrain, you're not giving up much fuel economy anymore at all. The Odyssey with its old V6, much worse at the pump. However, its family-friendly features can't be denied, and if you're a family with young children where you really need to have easy access to be able to hand them things, its second row flexibility might make it the best option for you. And our winner, the Toyota Sienna, is the nicest. It's also the most expensive, and we actually think that if you go down a trim level, that would be a more family-friendly version, because then you'd have better access to that third row without the giant center console. But the Toyota's combination of value, fuel economy, luxury even, hard to deny in this competition. The final thing that I hope we've proven out today is that if you have a family and it is growing, that you consider a minivan over an SUV. I think that these vehicles offer a lot more practicality and a lot more utility than so-called sport utility vehicles because of their lower height, their greater comfort, and their more flexible interiors. So if after seeing all of this, you still think a minivan isn't cool enough for you, you should probably suck it up and buy one anyway. Thanks for watching. It doesn't seem to really work on anything as large as goldfish. So, I don't know. It doesn't seem all that useful to me.
What if you just do this? Is that easier?
I was gonna eat those.